This is one of those moments as a 49ers fan where you stop what you're doing, you check your phone, and you immediately start thinking about what this really means for the team moving forward. The breaking news is officially in. The San Francisco 49ers have hired Raheem Morris as their new defensive coordinator, stepping in to replace Robert Saleh, and this is a move that carries a lot more weight than it might seem at first glance. This isn't just another coordinator shuffle. This is Kyle Shanahan making a very deliberate decision about the future of his defense, and honestly, I think it tells us a lot about where this organization believes it's headed. Before we really unpack all of this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not already, because anytime something big happens with the Niners, you know we're right here breaking it all down. We're on the push toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single sub genuinely helps this channel grow. Also, go ahead and like the video if you appreciate instant reactions and deep dive analysis like this. And let me know in the comments right now, just yes or no, simple as that. Do you like this hire? So let's set the table. Adam Schefter breaks the news, and just like that, Raheem Morris is officially coming back into Kyle Shanahan's orbit, this time as the defensive coordinator for San Francisco. This comes after Robert Saleh left to take a head coaching job, opening up one of the most important positions on Shanahan's staff. And right away, this tells you something. Kyle didn't rush into a safe, boring option. He didn't just promote from within for the sake of convenience. He went out and got someone he knows, someone he trusts, and someone who has proven he can adapt in today's NFL. What makes this especially interesting is how quickly everything fell into place. Morris had been in the mix for head coaching jobs. He was a finalist elsewhere. There were dominoes falling across the league with other coordinators and teams, and once those pieces moved, Shanahan wasted no time. This wasn't accidental. This feels planned. It feels intentional. And when you're talking about a defense that already has elite pieces in place, that matters. Because let's be honest for a second. This 49ers defense is not starting from scratch. You already have cornerstone players. You already have a strong identity. What you needed was the right leader to take that foundation and evolve it, not tear it down and rebuild it from the ground up. That's why this hire feels so important. Raheem Morris isn't walking into a rebuild. He's walking into a situation where the expectations are immediately high and the standard is already set. And that's why today matters. This isn't just about replacing Saleh. This is about maintaining continuity while also modernizing the approach. It's about finding someone who understands Kyle Shanahan, who understands how this organization operates, and who can step in and command respect from day one. Morris checks those boxes. As we go through this, we're going to talk about how this hire actually came together, the long history between Shanahan and Morris, why he ultimately beat out other candidates, and what this means schematically for the 49ers defense moving forward. We'll also look ahead at how this impacts the roster and expectations for next season. But first, I really want to hear from you. Drop your initial reaction in the comments. Are you excited about Raheem Morris? Are you skeptical, or are you somewhere in the middle? And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to do it so you don't miss any of our coverage as we break down every move this offseason. Coming up next, let's talk about how this hire actually came together and why the Shanahan-Morris connection is such a big part of this story. Let's dig into how this all came together, because this hire didn't happen in a vacuum. This was the result of a pretty wild coaching carousel across the NFL, and once a few dominoes fell, Kyle Shanahan moved fast to lock in his guy. Raheem Morris had been in the mix for head coaching jobs, including inside the NFC West, and that alone tells you how respected he is around the league. Teams don't bring you in for those interviews unless they see you as a real leader with a real vision. But once other openings started getting filled and coordinators began committing elsewhere, Morris suddenly became available. And that's when Shanahan stepped in. What makes this so fascinating is the relationship between these two. This isn't some new partnership that's being formed on the fly. Kyle Shanahan and Raheem Morris go way back. This is now their fourth time working together, which is pretty rare in the NFL. They first crossed paths years ago in Tampa Bay. Then they coached together in Washington. After that, they reunited in Atlanta when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator under Dan Quinn. And now, here they are again in San Francisco. That kind of history matters. It means there's already trust. It means there's already alignment on philosophy. It means there's no awkward feeling-out process where two coaches are trying to figure out how the other operates. Shanahan knows exactly who Morris is, how he communicates, how he runs meetings, how he connects with players, and how he builds a defense. That familiarity is huge when you're trying to keep momentum going on a team that expects to contend. And it's not just professional history. These two are legitimately close. Shanahan has wanted Morris on his staff before, even earlier in their careers. This is one of those situations where Kyle finally gets the chance to bring in someone he's always believed in, and that tells you everything you need to know about how he feels about Morris as a coach. Now let's talk about Raheem Morris himself for a second, because his resume is no joke. He's been in the NFL for more than 2 decades. He's been a head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator. He's been an assistant head coach. He's won Super Bowls, including as the Rams' defensive coordinator during their championship run. He's seen pretty much every situation you can imagine in this league, from rebuilding teams to championship-caliber rosters. Most recently, he was the head coach in Atlanta, and while that didn't ultimately work out long-term, it doesn't erase everything he brings to the table. Being a head coach changes you. It forces you to think bigger. It sharpens your leadership skills. It teaches you how to manage personalities and pressure. And now Morris brings all of that back into a coordinator role, which is often when coaches are at their absolute best. This is also why Shanahan didn't hesitate once the timing lined up. He wasn't just hiring a defensive coordinator. He was bringing in someone who has run entire organizations, who understands the big picture, and who can command a locker room full of stars. Let me ask you this real quick, because I'm curious where you stand on it. Does the long-standing connection between Shanahan and Morris make you feel more confident about this hire? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure you're subscribed. We're building this community together, and hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark is right there in front of us. Every new subscriber makes a difference. Now that we've covered how this hire came together and why Shanahan trusted Morris enough to make this move, the next big question becomes this. Why Raheem Morris over the other candidates? Why not Gus Bradley? Why not Jim Schwartz? That's where things get really interesting, and we're diving into that next. Now let's get into the real evaluation part of this, because when Robert Saleh left, there were multiple directions Kyle Shanahan could have gone. Gus Bradley was right there in the building. Jim Schwartz was available. There were other names floating around. But Shanahan ultimately chose Raheem Morris, and once you break it down, it makes a lot of sense. Let's start with Gus Bradley. He's respected. Players like him. He handled red zone responsibilities for the defense this past season, and the Niners were strong in that area. Some guys in the locker room even advocated for him to get the job. So this isn't about Gus Bradley being a bad coach. It's about ceiling. If Bradley had been promoted, it would have felt safe, comfortable, familiar, and sometimes that's okay. But in this case, it also would have felt flat, low upside. Bradley comes from that old Legion of Boom coaching tree, and while that defense was revolutionary at one point, the league has caught up. Over the years, Bradley has struggled to consistently adapt to modern offenses. His schemes haven't evolved the same way some of the top defensive minds have. You look at his recent stops, Chargers, Raiders, Colts, and it just hasn't ended well. That's not the type of trajectory you want, leading a Super Bowl caliber defense. With Bradley, the floor might have been fine. The ceiling? Not nearly high enough. Now Jim Schwartz is a different conversation. From a front seven perspective, Schwartz actually made a ton of sense. He runs a 4-3. He loves the wide 9 alignment, something Shanahan has always appreciated. Chris Kukarek already has history with Schwartz. On paper, that part fits. But once you get to the back end of the defense, things change. Schwartz heavily favors man coverage. His Browns defense led the league in man coverage this past season. The 49ers, on the other hand, are built around zone. Kyle Shanahan prefers zone. This roster is built for zone. Switching to Schwartz would have meant significant personnel changes, especially at corner and safety. That's not a small tweak, that's a philosophical overhaul. And that's where Raheem Morris separates himself. Morris gives you continuity without stagnation. He keeps the zone-based principles that the 49ers already use, which makes the transition smoother for the players. But at the same time, he brings adaptability. He's shown throughout his career that he's willing to evolve his scheme based on personnel and based on what offenses are doing across the league. That's the biggest thing for me. Great defensive coordinators today aren't rigid. They don't stubbornly stick to one system no matter what. They adjust. They evolve. They steal ideas. They blend concepts. And Raheem Morris has done exactly that. He started with Tampa 2 roots. Then with the Rams, after Brandon Staley left, Morris adapted to a more Vic Fangio-influenced approach. That meant more too-high safety looks, lighter boxes, fewer reckless blitzes, a focus on limiting explosive plays. He didn't force players into a scheme. He molded the scheme around the players. That's what Robert Saleh did so well, too. And that's what separates Morris from someone like Gus Bradley, who has struggled to move beyond his original defensive framework. So when you zoom out, Morris gives Shanahan exactly what he needs. A coordinator who aligns philosophically, who fits the current roster, and who still brings fresh ideas and flexibility. That's a rare combination. Quick question for you here. If you had to pick, who would you have preferred? Raheem Morris, Jim Schwartz, or Gus Bradley? Drop the name in the comments. I'm really interested to see where Niner fans land on that. And if you're getting value from this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps push this video out to more 49ers fans. Also, make sure you're subscribed as we keep climbing toward 1,000 subscribers. This off-season is going to be busy, and you don't want to miss any of it. Coming up next, let's dive into what Raheem Morris actually brings schematically and how this defense could look on the field with him in charge. All right, now let's talk football, because this is where Raheem Morris really starts to shine, and where this hire becomes even more exciting for the 49ers moving forward. At his core, Morris comes from Tampa 2 roots, which means a 4-3 alignment, zone-heavy coverage, and linebackers who are asked to cover a lot of ground in the middle of the field. If you're already thinking about Fred Warner in that role, yeah, you're not alone. Warner is built for this. His range, instincts, and ability to drop into coverage are tailor-made for what Morris likes to do. That alone should have every Niners fan feeling pretty good. But what makes Morris different from some old-school defensive coaches is that he doesn't stay locked into one system. He's shown over and over again that he's willing to evolve. When he took over the Rams' defense after Brandon Staley left, he didn't stubbornly stick to his Tampa 2 background. He adapted to a more Vic Fangio-influenced system because that's what fit the personnel. That meant more too-high safety looks, lighter boxes, and a bigger emphasis on preventing explosive plays. It also meant being selective with blitzing instead of sending pressure just for the sake of it. That flexibility is everything in today's NFL. Offenses change constantly. If you can't adjust, you get exposed. Morris understands that. He's proven that he can shift his approach from season to season and even within games. That's something this defense absolutely needs, especially after seeing how valuable in-game adjustments were under Robert Saleh. And then there's the leadership side of it. Morris brings energy. He communicates well. Players respect him. He's been a head coach, which gives him a different presence in the building. That matters when you're working with star veterans and young players at the same time. Saleh had that ability to connect and motivate, and Morris checks that same box. This isn't just about X's and O's. It's about getting guys to buy in, play fast, and trust the system. From a personnel standpoint, this hire also minimizes disruption. The 49ers don't have to reinvent themselves defensively. You're still looking at zone concepts on the back end. You're still running a 4-3 up front. You're still letting your pass rushers attack. That continuity allows players to focus on execution instead of relearning everything from scratch. Now, that doesn't mean changes won't happen. You can still expect upgrades at corner. You can still expect movement at safety. And there's still work to be done next to Fred Warner at linebacker. But the foundation stays intact, and that's huge for a team trying to compete right away. Let me throw this one your way. Which defender are you most excited to see under Raheem Morris? Is it Fred Warner? Nick Bosa? One of the young guys? Drop that name in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's another good moment to do it. We're getting closer to that 1,000 subscriber goal, and your support really helps keep this channel growing. Also, tap that like button if you're feeling optimistic about what Morris can bring to this defense. So we've talked about the hire itself, the connection with Shanahan, why Morris beat out the other candidates, and what he brings schematically. Now let's wrap this up by looking ahead. What does this actually mean for the 49ers next season, and where does this defense go from here? Now let's bring it all together and look ahead, because at the end of the day, this hire is only going to be judged by what happens on the field. When you project forward, there's a lot to like about where this defense is headed. You're getting Nick Bosa back. You still have Fred Warner as the heartbeat of the unit. You've got young pieces who should continue to grow, and you already know the overall structure of the defense isn't changing dramatically. That's a huge advantage. Raheem Morris isn't walking into chaos. He's stepping into a group that already has an identity, already understands expectations, and already believes it can be elite. And honestly, when you compare both sides of the ball, I think the defense might actually have fewer question marks than the offense right now. Offensively, there are still big conversations coming about personnel, contracts, and overall direction. Defensively, it feels more about fine-tuning and upgrading around the edges. You probably still want to get better at corner. You likely need a coverage safety to pair with Malik Mustafa, who's more of a downhill, in-the-box type of player. And next, to Fred Warner, there's room to improve at linebacker. But those are manageable needs, not full-scale rebuild issues. That's what makes this Morris hire so important. He's coming in with a plan that fits the roster, with a scheme that aligns with Shanahan's vision, and with the experience to maximize what's already here. His ability to adapt, communicate, and lead gives this defense a chance to take another step forward instead of slipping backward after losing Robert Saleh. If you ask me to put a grade on it right now, I'm giving this an A. Kyle Shanahan didn't settle. He didn't go conservative. He went with a proven coach who brings energy, flexibility, and credibility into the building. That's exactly what you want in a moment like this. But now I want your take. Drop it in the comments. What grade do you give this hire, A, B, or C? And tell me why. And before you go, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and if you're here for Niners coverage all off-season long, now's the perfect time to join the community. Hit the like button as well if you're excited about the direction of this defense, and share this video with another 49ers fan who's probably already debating this hire in their group chat. I really appreciate you spending part of your day here breaking this down with me. We've got a busy off-season ahead with roster moves, draft talk, and plenty more news coming, so stay locked in.